This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Shalom Aleichem, welcome everyone, Baruch haba, Baruchim haba, and we continue in the Orchos Chaim of the Rosh. We're up to Ois Mem Gimel. This particular point of the Rosh discusses the need for moderation. The Rosh says, Palis magel raglecha. Evaluate, weigh the circuit of your foot. This comes from the pasuk in Mishlei, Perek Daled, pasuk Chavav. And the pasuk says, Palis magel raglecha. Weigh the path of your foot, v'chol derachecha yikainu, and all of your paths will be affixed. In other words, when a person acts, and when a person proceeds in life, it has to be evaluated and weighed and balanced. Liyashar atzmacha b'derech beinani, to strain yourself in a moderate way. B'ma'achal, in food, u'v'mishteh, and in drink, u'v'chol midoisecha, and in all of your character traits. Now, Rav Goldberg, in his commentary, quotes his grandfather. I think he means his wife's grandfather. I mentioned that I had the privilege to meet Rav Goldberg this past Friday, Erev Shabbos, in his home. And what's amazing is, this whole sefer, the whole commentary, was written by his wife. Now, when I say written, Rav Goldberg writes it. He writes in his notebook. I saw his notebooks on the table. And his wife typesets the entire sefer. And not only this sefer, all the Svarim he wrote, including Chidushim on Yevamis, and all the Shas Masechtas, and the Shiras David, and his sefer on Corona, and his sefer on 9/11. His wife typesets the whole thing. So his wife was the daughter of Rav Osband. Rav Osband was, I believe, son-in-law by Rav Bloch. And in the Shurei Das, Rav Bloch writes as follows. We say that a person can partake of this world, l'tzoyrech, what is needed. So you say, okay, what's needed? So that means I could eat for breakfast whole wheat bread with 1 egg and coffee with no sugar and a little bit of milk. But nobody needs sugar. Sugar is not needed by anybody. Sugar is harmful. Is that expected? And then for lunch you could eat 1 piece of salmon with broccoli. And then for dinner you could have a piece of chicken and some carrots. But of course you can never eat dessert because it's just harmful to a person. So is that true? Is a person not allowed to partake of anything enjoyable that's maybe unhealthy? So Rav Bloch writes a basic idea that the concept of l'tzoyrech is very subjective. That different people need different things to function. Now, function doesn't just mean to breathe and to see and for the body to work, but people have different needs for them to work. For all cylinders to be running, some people need a treat and some people need a sweet. Maybe not for their body to work, but for them to work psychologically, emotionally. People need a certain degree of just enjoyment, and that is relative. And somebody on a higher level, who's more immersed in the spiritual, has less of a need for physical, and everybody there's no objective standard of l'tzarech, and everybody has to evaluate, and it's a constant balance. Okay, do I need it? Do I really need it? Do I need this luxury? Do I need this item? For a great tzaddik, maybe he could have 1 or 2 garments, and he's fine with that. It's really irrelevant to them. And somebody who is more needy and more immersed in the physical has more of a need to purchase certain items. But there's constantly an evaluation and a weighing and a palais in order to determine what a person's l'tzarech is. But the key is it should be b'derech beinani. In other words, there's a sefer written by one of the Talmidim of Rabbi Yisrael Salander. It's called Cheshbon HaNefesh. And basically he compares a human being to an old man who's very infirm, very wise, but not really mobile, who needs to get from point A to point B on a donkey. So he has to sometimes he has to feed the donkey. He has to give the donkey a carrot and then another carrot and then another carrot. And sometimes he has to hit the donkey, but he can't hit too hard because he's dependent on the donkey. And that's how we are in this world. We have a soul, and the soul wants to learn Torah and to daven and to do chesed. But the soul's got to get around in this world, and to get around this world, you need a body. And the body doesn't want to daven, and the body doesn't want to do chesed, and the body doesn't want to learn. The body wants physical pleasure, so you have to know when to throw the body a bone and when to give into it, because if you never give into the body, then the body ain't taking you around in this world. So you have to view it and identify. A person has to identify themselves as the neshama. However, for the neshama to be successful in this world, it needs a good pair of shoes. The good pair of shoes is the body. And one has to sort of feed the body in order to, and give into the body in order to function in this world. But if you let the body indulge in this world, so then it goes astray and it runs off, and it's not going to take you where you need to go either. So the Rosh continues, V'al tat yamin usmal. Do not turn not to the right, not to the left. Okay, now, uv'dibirecha, in your speech, uv'hasbaras panim, and in the way you countenance people, in the way you greet people, in the way you're friendly to people, im ha'emuna, with faith. Now what does that mean? What does that mean? Greet people, welcome people, with faith. So in the commentary Mekar HaChaim of Rabbi Tzalel Zolti, he brings from Rabbi Lapian, who heard from the Alter of Kelm, that honoring people needs great emunah. What does that mean? Sometimes a person honors certain people because these certain people are very wealthy and you feel you need something from them. So you honor them because you hope to get something out of them. But when it comes to a regular person who there's no anticipation of benefit from them, so then you don't give them the same sever panim yafos and the same honor and the same respect. And therefore the Rosh is saying the way we accord kavod to people has to be with emunah, to recognize that whatever benefit you're going to get doesn't really come from that person. That person is merely the shliach, it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you'll get what's coming to you, whether from this person or somebody else. And therefore when you're friendly to a wealthy person or a person of resources, it should be be'emunah. It should not be because you think you're going to get something out of them. It should be only because they were created in the image of Hashem, and what you get out of them has nothing to do with them, and if you don't get it from them, you get it from somebody else. And it requires emunah to show proper kavod to people. Not to honor people because of what they have, but to honor them for their inherent deserving of honor, namely they're created in the image of Hashem. And that's emunah. So emunah is needed simply in order to be respectful to people. Don't be respectful to people because of what you think you're going to get out of them. And the Rosh continues, V'roi deif achar shalom, and pursue peace. What's that got to do with anything? So Rav Yecheskel Sarna explains, even though the Rosh said that when it comes to all of a person's mode of behavior, it should be with balance and it should be b'midah beinanis, nevertheless, when it comes to being roi deif shalom, one should not exercise the balance and equilibrium. When it comes to being roi deif shalom, it should be with extreme. In other words, this is an area where one is permitted and encouraged to be extreme. Namely, for the sake of peace, one should abandon this pales magel raglacha, one should abandon this pursuit of the middle ground. However, Rav Goldberg says that this idea of roi deif achar shalom follows the thought that precedes it. Namely, for a person to be able to have shalom, they need to have faith that whatever they would have achieved or whatever they would have received would be, they don't need the other person, and the other person didn't make them lose the kavod or the money or the opportunity that they they think that that other person is at fault for them not achieving. In other words, it is necessary to have a level of emunah in order to be able to be roidef achar hashalem. Okay, so this is ois mem gimel, namely the need for the moderate approach. The definition of letzoirech is subjective to a person's madrega, not to be extreme in a person's actions and speech. And when greeting somebody and showing honor to somebody, it should be be'emuna. It should not be because of some kind of anticipated benefit, but rather because of the fact that they're created b'tselem Elokim. And one should thereby, through acquiring emuna, be able to be Roy Dev Shalom. Thank you everybody for joining today. Be'ez Hashem will continue tomorrow, Ois Mem Daled. If anybody wants to join us tonight, Masechta Yevamos, Daf Pei Daled Amud Beis. Have a great day. Bracha v'hatzlacha.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.